That's
So
it.
I'm
Okay,
good.
cool.
I'm ready.
Excellent. Me too. It's wonderful to meet you. Thank you so much for taking a minute out today. I appreciate it.
No problem.
So let's begin our journey into your life as an entrepreneur and an author by asking you this. 5 years ago, this pandemic was really gaining steam. There was a lot that was changing. How did you ultimately get through that time period, and how has it influenced the way that you do things today?
It's fun, but like natural disasters are a kind of my big luck
Yeah.
because already with my boat there was this big tsunami and the Bali bombing what made our success possible, and with the pandemic it was basically the same. So in 1 year before, in 2019, I had already my jewelry business running.
Yeah.
It was okay, but not enough at all, you know. So, and with an ugly divorce and all, so I ended up 2018, 2019, like with no money left. So I decided I have to change something. You know, there's a point when when you hit this touchdown point, something is going wrong. You're just in a wrong direction, and if you're not flexible, I think life is showing it to you again and again. So in my case, because I was selling the jewelry on exhibitions,
Yeah.
and it was just exhausting, you know, with two little kids at home and all that stuff. So with January 2020, I decided to get rid of everything that is taking me down. So I decided to make a web shop. So at that time, to sell jewelry online was not common, you know. So people still like to go to a shop and touch it. But yeah, I decided I want to do it. I don't want to go on any exhibition anymore. I don't want to deal with the single shops. So I made the decision with basically the last money I had, or in this case, I didn't even really have it, you know, because I decided to go online, and I had to do the Facebook advertisements, and
Yeah.
I really hated it. But so I decided to want to learn. I want to learn it by myself. I don't want to give my money to an agency to do it for me, but also the coaching to learn to do the adverts was like I think 9,000 euro, and I didn't have the money. So I found a young guy in Germany, and I told him kind of, yeah, if you believe in your knowledge, and I can pay it later on, you know, if it works out. And somehow he agreed, and I wrote down like a formula because I was at the end, you know, I couldn't pay the bills anymore. So I wrote down in January 2020, I wrote down in 1 month I want to have 10,000 euro, and in 6 months I want to have 100,000 euro, which is, yeah, it's like crazy numbers for like my jewelry was really, it was like tiny Bali bracelets.
Yeah.
And uh, yeah, so February, March 2020, my web shop was ready, and the pandemic hit the world. So there was the lockdown, and me, like a single mom with two little kids, was I was just ready to go, and it was really, it was my lucky twist. I mean, it was horrible for the world, but I was just at the right time ready. So I hit the 10,000 in the first months.
Wow.
We just before the pandemic started, I was able to make a photo shooting with a girlfriend. She had nice tattoos on her hand, and it really fitted well with my bracelets. And by June, we hit the 100,000 euro per month. And it was, you can money, you can, yeah, it was incredible. I
Yeah.
made almost 1 million in the first year, and the following year again, with something where people, they were laughing about it, you know, and they were saying, "Oh, what you want to do now?" Because before I had a boat charter business in Bali, and that was quite big, and you know, not really directly in my face, but behind my back, I realized, you know, what you're doing, like Bali beach bracelets, and what are you doing? You're sitting at home and doing them by yourself, and they didn't know I founded a women's charity project.
Yeah.
So I had at that time 10 women in Bali working for me, and they were very happy because their husbands, they lost their job. So I made it at least possible for also these 10 women in Bali to get good money out of just sitting at home and doing my bracelets. Yeah, this was my pandemic.
Yeah, that's amazing. So
Yeah.
let's go right now to 2025. If I put you in front of a bunch of 12-year-olds at a school, it's career day, and one of the kids is like, "What do you do for a living?" How do you answer them?
This is fun because somebody I was asking my kids what I'm doing and they couldn't answer. It's like mom, yeah, bracelets. Yeah, it's I have no job in or no description because I like to talk about myself like the inventor of free time,
Yeah.
and it's fun because it's not that I'm not working at all. For me, my life is more there is like a big project and I'm all in, and then is a time when I'm doing nothing.
Yeah.
So yeah, but right now I like to call myself an author. So I decided I just want to write.
Okay. Okay. So let me ask you this. When you were 12 years old, what did you want to be when you grew up? What was your dream life?
Oh my goodness, I always knew I wanted to live near the beach, near the sea, near the ocean. And it was really fun because I wanted to become a stewardess
Nice.
or a hairstylist, something very simple, but somehow the biggest dream inside me was just to live near the ocean.
Yeah. So take me back to your childhood. What were these foundational seeds that were planted that made you be an entrepreneur, an author, and taking care of the free time? How did all this happen?
Mm, I am coming from a really normal family, like two government workers, like a fixed job all their life. But I think my mom, she was working for the government but she always said when there was a problem, she always said to me, "You will do it. You make it." She was somehow she put the seed into my belief system that yeah, I will work out everything somehow. And my parents, they planned an office career for me. So and they made sure that I'm getting a job next to them. And I made this commercial school, and when I finished the school, my father already arranged an appointment with the boss of of the National Bank from our district, so to be sure that I get a good job. But I remember I was sitting there with this guy, and the job was granted, and I was inside me, it was just like, no, no way. And I said, no, I go to the university just to get a little bit more time. But all the same was after the university. I was just not meant to be in an office, not at
Yeah.
all.
Yeah. So let me ask you this. Who has been kind of an inspiration? Who's been kind of a hero for you in your life that's allowed you to become who you are?
Mm, I don't know if I have a hero. Not really. I was always admiring people with a free lifestyle. When I came to Bali for the first time, but sorry, I saw people living there in doing the fashion business, and this was what they really inspired me. And when I came to Bali for the first time after university, I came to this island, and I knew I was going to live there because it was when I was there was like 20 years ago. It was still like a little bit luxury hippie style, people from all over the world, and it was just my place to be, like going around with a motorbike just with a bikini. And my office was a restaurant at the beach, where you could get the Wi-Fi for free, so I was working from there, and this was my inspiration.
So let me ask you this. As the inventor of free time, you're also an entrepreneur, an author, and a mother. How do you go about every day? Do you try to find a balance? How do you kind of juggle everything and do it to the best of your abilities?
I try to be very focused. So for me, is you have to know yourself, and your self sabotage and all that stuff, and my laziness, which is not laziness. I think I'm really like recharging. But if I'm on fire, if I want to do something, I'm just full in. There's it's like I kick off anything else. So it was the same with writing the book. When I decided to write it, when after because last year I sold my jewelry business,
Yeah.
um, and it was quite fun because yeah, I did it within a month. And everybody told me it's impossible because yes, it was a niche market. It was a little bit spiritual, and it was, yeah, it was made like I was my person was very important for the whole brand message, and they all told me it's hard to sell, or it takes at least a year to sell an e-commerce business with from this size. But I sold it within a month.
Wow.
So last March, I was jumping around in the garden like a few weeks just to celebrate it because I sold it that quick. And then I said, okay, so because I wrote down I want to sell it within a month, and I like to put goals like a short-term goal and a long-term goal. So my short-term goal was to sell the business, and my long-term goal was to write a book. 6 months later, and at that time, my dream was to write a fantasy novel, something like The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, something really crazy. I didn't.
Yeah.
My plan was not to write about my whole story, but with manifesting or making your dream life, if you make it once, yeah, it can happen, you're lucky. But I realized it like 3 times, I repeated it. So, and when I repeated it with selling my jewelry business, somehow I knew I have to write my story and put it into, because I worked out a formula that works for me, and I'm pretty sure it works for everyone, because it's an inner game. You can learn it. There are just a few steps and rules for your reprogramming. And yeah, and then I decided to write a book, and I was just not sure how much I put inside from my personal story, like, because I also found my absolute dream husband. And I was asking him a few times if I really can use our story, and he was like, "Ah, I don't care, just write it." So, and then I wrote it, and it just took me like 3 months, because it was like an like
Yeah. So Super Synchronicity is the name of the book. What kind of responses have you gotten? Have you got fan mail? What's been, has there been a response that surprised you?
Yeah, no, I love it because I really tried to I really tried to write it like, because I realized when I'm telling people about my story, there's sometimes it's like when I'm talking about it, is they say like I have already like 3 lives, it's
Yeah.
not like one life. And I wanted to write it like the same I talk to my friends with like my story and advices. But and I read, for sure, I read also books about similar topics, and they always they have like 10 stories just to come to one point. And I really try to avoid all that unnecessary fluff. It's a guideline. It's my story is inside to show what is possible, but it's not always about turning your whole life around. It's something that works also like with everyday, like little stuff. Like a few days ago we had a problem with our heater system in the house, and I was like just asking for a solution, and I met my neighbor, and I was, a guy, and he's like, yeah, I have a friend doing that stuff, and it was solved for sure like half of the normal price. And I made this guide to the formula because I think these lucky coincidences or synchronicity, it's a frequency.
Yeah.
And it's not done with just like making a wish to the universe. It's a very happy, positive frequency, where you are in, and it's like you're radiating it,
Yeah.
and the things are coming, and I don't think that you are like attracting a lucky twist. I think they're always there,
Yeah.
or different ways to get a solution. It's always there. You're just blind because you have what I call is a how addiction. We like to think about, oh, this or that must happen before, or this is the way it works, and this is it makes you blind. And this opening up, this happy frequency just opens the doors and opens the eyes.
Yeah, I totally agree. So let me ask you this. If you had a dream tonight, ran into the 18-year-old version of you, and you could give that young version of you a piece of advice based on this life you've lived, the wisdom you've gained, what advice would you give your younger version?
Make quicker decisions. You
Yeah.
know, looking back now, I could have accelerated everything much more. But it's always hard to make a decision, because a decision is some always you turn something back. You decide for one way or what you go, and this every one of us, I think, is you tend to just wait, and look, and what is the feeling. And what I realized is, when you make a decision, for me it's like, when I do make a decision, it's non-negotiable, so this is the way to go. But I realized there's a slightly difference in the feeling when you this difference you have to work out, because sometimes you don't have like a really good feeling. But if is the feeling, is it fear, is it something really bad, or is it just this strange feeling of something new? And I learned, or what I try to do is, in daily stuff, like not important decisions, to figure out if it's like really something that is turning me back, that it's like the gut feeling says, that's not the right stuff, or is it just a feeling because it's something unusual or something new. And I think to work out this tiny difference in the feeling, just to also to go a new way or to try a new solution. Sometimes this feeling it holds you back somehow to make this decision.
Yeah. So let me ask you this. Of everything that you've accomplished and evolved into, what are you the proudest of?
Oh, still my kids.
Yeah, I like it.
You can turn around whatever you do, but sometimes it's, even when I was just today, I was like, oh, sometimes it's so much when we are alone and when the kids are not here, there's everything is clean, there's no work. But just today, my kids came back, and it doesn't matter how much work they or how dirty they are,
Yeah,
they're still the best in life.
absolutely. So let me ask you this. Everyone has a perception of you, family, friends, all of the people that you've worked with, everyone that gets your book, but you run the show. What's your perception of you? Who do you think you are?
I, I think I'm at the end of the day, I'm pretty normal, I'm what I like is, I'm not too serious, I can laugh about myself when I make a bit mistake. And yeah, I think I'm just easygoing, well, but pretty normal, like when it comes back to the family and all that stuff, I don't need much
Yeah.
in reality to be happy.
So you spent a lot of time in Bali. You've obviously traveled quite a bit. What is the one of the most magical places, most unexpectedly beautiful places you've been to on the planet?
For me, there is one magic moment that is like tattooed into my heart and brain. We were owning this. It was a big sailing boat. It was 78 feet, and but there was this moment, like really standing on the bow, and I don't know, the water was strange. It was kind of sunset, and it looked like a little bit like quicksilver, like silver. And there were some dolphins coming, and
Wow.
they were jumping on the boat. And it was such a remote area, and that was for me. I think this is to be on a boat is for me is still magic.
Yeah.
And I had it like more than 10 years, so I think I have the piece of this is already inside me somehow.
Absolutely. Yeah. So if anybody wants to pick up a copy of Super Synchronicity, they want to reach out, they want to learn more, anything business-wise, where do they go?
Amazon.
Okay.
Okay, I have everything Amazon. It's soft cover. I have an Audible version, ebook, and yeah, this is something I was thinking about. There are many people they don't like Amazon,
Yeah.
and but there is a point. You have the decision. You go as a self-publisher, or you try it with a publishing house. I decided to just to make my own publishing house.
Yeah.
But still, like in the English version, I'm selling via Amazon. And when it comes to the royalties, it's fair, it's for an author, it's more fair to be there. And this is the same, like when I what I accomplished before. It's the same when the people were laughing about my bracelets or they thought I'm crazy with the boat. It's the same they say now, It's like, what, you want to earn money with a book?
Right.
And if you do your research, everybody, or you can read almost everywhere. It's like there's no way to make money with a book, and it's not true.
Right.
It's not true. It all if you there's so many funny things happening because now a publishing house from Poland asked me if the rights are for sale in Poland, and I was yeah, why not?
Right.
I would never sell or translate it into Polish, so you can have it with how much you're ready to pay.
Yeah.
So it's never say never, and just go on.
Absolutely. Susanne, this has been absolutely wonderful. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you for your story. Continued success.
Thank you very much for having me. It was
Absolutely.
a pleasure.
Absolutely. It was great.
Hello friends, Joe Dimino here. I just wanted to let you know that after 30 years or so, I have finally released my first book of poetry through the mighty Spartan Press here in Kansas City, Missouri. As the creator and host of both Neon Jazz Radio and the Famous Interviews with Joe Dimino podcast, along with being a visual artist, I'm ready to embark on a new adventure and want you to be a part of it. You can get a copy online via Barnes & Noble, Amazon, and actually on the streets in Kansas City at the great Prospero's bookstore off 39th Street. You can also visit joedimino.com for links to the book, to more poetry, and everything in my world, including paintings. Thanks for all of the love and support over the years, and please dig the words.